Valak's name, hidden in plain sight. In The Conjuring 2, Valak's name wasn't revealed out of nowhere. It was sitting right under everyone's nose the whole time, but most of us totally missed it. And honestly, that's what makes it so genius. The first clue appears right after Lorraine sees Ed's painting of the nun. When they head into the kitchen for some tea, if you look closely at the wall behind Lorraine, the name is literally written there. Then, as the camera shifts to Ed, you can spot some homemade decorations on the windowsill, and they spell it out too. Later, we see their daughter Judy making a friendship bracelet, and a few of the beads are arranged in a way that clearly spells Valak. In that same scene, the bookshelf behind Lorraine also has letters placed to form the demon's name. But who's going to think, oh hey, those letters probably spell out the demon's name, in the middle of a family scene? Our brains just brushed past it, treating it like part of the decor. Later, when Lorraine writes the name into her Bible and uses it to banish the demon, it all clicks. If you'd caught those letters earlier, especially the bookshelf moment, you could have called the twist long before the Warrens did. But it's exactly these little details that make rewatching the movie so much fun. Frenchie's crossover in The Conjuring and The Nun. In The Nun, we meet Frenchie, a farmer who ends up helping Sister Irene and Father Burke investigate the terrifying events at the Abbey in Romania. He feels like the grounded everyday character in the middle of all the chaos, a guy who didn't sign up for demons but gets dragged in anyway. Toward the end, though, we learn his full name, Maurice Theriot. At first it doesn't feel like a big deal, but if you've seen The Conjuring, that name should sound familiar. Maurice is the French-Canadian farmer the Warrens mentioned during one of their lectures. In that scene, they show footage of him being possessed during an exorcism, a chilling example of the evil forces they confront. The real shock comes when you realize the man in that lecture isn't just a random case. It's Frenchie. To make it even clearer, he's left with an inverted cross on his skin, a mark of Valak's possession. That revelation ties the films together in a brilliantly satisfying way. And with the nun Usakyo continuing his story, Maurice is cemented as one of the key threads holding the Conjuring universe together. Lorraine's vision of Ed's death. In The Conjuring 2, Lorraine has a vision straight out of a nightmare, Ed being stabbed by a sharp tree stump. Later, lightning strikes create that exact stump, and sure enough, Ed slips and nearly falls right onto it, while trying to save Janet. For a second, it feels like her vision is about to come true. But Lorraine steps in, shouts Valak's name, and sends the demon back to hell. That moment saves Ed's life, and proves that sometimes the scariest weapon isn't holy water. It's good memory and quick thinking. The danger doesn't end there, though. In The Devil Made Me Do It, Ed has a heart attack during an exorcism when the demon jumps into another host. It's not the exact tree stump death Lorraine saw, but it's another close call that makes her visions feel less like warnings and more like ticking clocks. And now comes The Conjuring, Last Rites. In the trailer, Ed admits, "I don't know how to protect you this time." That line hits hard, turning Lorraine's visions into more than just spooky moments. They feel like the countdown to the Warrens' most emotional fight yet, the Nun 2 mid-credits setup. So, in The Nun 2, if you stick around after the movie ends, there's a mid-credits scene that sets up the next big chapter. The phone rings at Ed and Lorraine Warren's house, and Ed picks it up. On the other end, Father Gordon. He tells them there's another urgent case that needs their help, and just like that, the film hands the story straight over to The Conjuring, Last Rites. What makes this scene so cool is how direct it is. A lot of Conjuring Universe connections are sneaky little Easter eggs hidden in the background, but this one doesn't even try to be subtle. It's literally a phone call that says, "Okay, time for the next movie." It feels like the most obvious bridge in the entire franchise, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing. The Nun's Shadow, Annabelle Creation. In Annabelle Creation, there's a moment that's really easy to miss, but once you notice it, it makes the whole story feel bigger. Sister Charlotte shows Mr. Mullins an old photo from her time in Romania with 3 other nuns. At first it just looks like a sweet little memory, but then your eyes catch something strange, a shadowy figure standing in the background. None of them know who it is, and that's because it's not one of the sisters at all. It's Valak, sliding into the shot like the creepiest photobomb in horror history. And then the movie takes it one step further. After the credits, there's a short scene inside the Abbey of Saint Carta. The hallway is dim, lit only by flickering candles, and it's dead silent. You can feel something's coming. Sure enough, Valak shows up again, already haunting the Abbey years before the events of The Nun. It's a clever little connection that ties the entire Conjuring universe together in a really creative way. Real case audio over the credits. This detail will haunt you for the night, so maybe keep the lights on. At the end of The Conjuring 2, just when you think you can finally relax, the credits start rolling, and then you hear it. A real audio recording from the actual Enfield poltergeist case. Yep, those aren't actors. That's the real deal. The creepy whispers and strange voices were captured during the real investigation in the late 70s. Suddenly, the movie stops feeling like just a story and becomes tied to something real. The Devil Made Me Do It does the exact same thing, and it's just as chilling. As the credits play, you hear a real recording from the exorcism of David Glatzel, the very case that inspired the movie. Hearing those actual voices, caught in the middle of something terrifying, makes the ending hit even harder. It's the perfect reminder that the Conjuring films aren't about entertainment. They're rooted in true cases that blur the line between horror and reality. The monkey toy Easter egg. If you've got a sharp eye, you might notice a little surprise in The Conjuring and again in Annabelle Comes Home. In the Warrens' spooky artifact room, there's a toy monkey with little symbols, just sitting there like creepy background decor. But for horror fans, that's not merely a toy. It's a shout-out to Stephen King's short story, The Monkey. In King's story, the toy is cursed. Every time the monkey claps its symbols together, someone nearby dies. The main character, Hal, first discovers it in his attic as a child. Years later, even as an adult, he can't escape it. The monkey keeps reappearing, and each time it does, tragedy follows. So when you catch that same monkey tucked away in the Warrens' collection, it feels like the filmmakers are giving a sly wink to horror fans. Father Perez's crossover. In Annabelle, we meet Father Perez, the priest who helps the couple deal with the possessed doll. The very same character shows up again in The Curse of La Llorona. It's the same actor, Tony Amendola, playing the same priest, and he even refers to an incident with a doll. On the surface, it looks like a direct thread linking the two stories. This naturally led people to think La Llorona was part of the Conjuring universe, but the filmmakers later explained that it was never meant to be official. Director Michael Chavez said the moment was intended as a quiet nod, not a franchise crossover. Producer Peter Safran also confirmed that The Curse of La Llorona is not included in the Conjuring timeline. So what does that mean? Technically, it's not canon, but Perez is there, the connection is visible, and if we want to read it as part of the same world, we can. In the end, it comes down to how much weight you give to the crossover. If you decide it's linked, then for you, it is. But one thing isn't up for debate. The terrors of the Conjuring universe are very real, and their demons don't leave room for doubt. Meet them all and every demon in the Conjuring universe. Explained just in 10 minutes next.